So cast iron is making a comeback, and every good Southern cook has at least one cast iron skillet or corn cake pan to make their kitchen complete. And I love cast iron, so I can see why everybody now is wanting to get with the Southern trend and get cast iron cooking in their kitchen as well. Now, some people might be intimidated by cast iron because it is such a versatile, great cooking source, and I think it's just because people might not know how to take care of cast iron, but it is super simple and it will create that great dish. One of the things about cast iron is it's so versatile in how we can use it. We can use it on our stovetop, we can use it on our grill, we can even build a campfire out back and put it right on the campfire. It will cook in any element. And what it does, the special thing about it is, it makes sure to distribute the heat all throughout this pan, and it holds that heat. So if we have a great stew made in this Dutch oven, we can put that on a trivet on our table and it will stay warm for a long time because that heat will just hold in that pan. Now, there are some tips about cast iron though. A lot of people have those glass flat top stoves nowadays, and most of the time it will tell you not to use cast iron on those. But I have one at home and I use it. You just have to be really careful because the heat distributes, and so these handles get really hot when you're cooking with cast iron. And so this is a really heavy pan, and so if we're picking it up and it's hot and we accidentally drop it on our glass top stove, it can crack or even cave that in. So we have to be really careful and make sure that we have the right accessories with our cast iron. These are handy dandy for your Dutch oven here. You can just kind of put these on and leave them on while cooking. And so if you ever have to pick up the handles, it won't be hot. These are made of silicone, and so they withstand up to 450 degrees. And you can see I also have one on this skillet as well, and so I can just take the skillet and move it at any time. They also have cloth ones that you can put on. Those just don't withstand as much heat, but they're way better than trying to grab maybe a towel or utilizing your bare hand on this hot cast iron. So the accessories are very important with that. And so if cast iron is expensive for your budget, you can go find one at a flea market or maybe even a yard sale that just needs some tender love and care, and they're easy to restore and get that great season on them. If you buy one new, usually they have the season already on them. This is a brand new corn cake pan, and it's already pre-seasoned. So all we need to do with this is just make sure we have some grease conditioner or run some oil over the top before we use it, and then it's ready to go. And some people might say, oh, well, I had a new one and then it has some rust in it. And if you can kind of take a look in here, you can kind of see that there's some rust spots in here. If you don't maintain your cast iron, you can get some of these rust spots, but the magic is we can make them go away. So anytime you have like food that's on your cast iron that maybe is cooked in, you want to get off, it's hard to kind of get off, we can use some salt. Run some hot water. Don't use cold water in a hot cast iron pan. It can actually warp your pan. So after cooking, you have some food left over, or maybe you have some rust, run some hot water over it, and then just get some regular salt. You can use sea salt, kosher salt, or just plain iodized salt as well. Pour that in your cast iron and get either a old hand towel or just some paper towels and rub that. Just really work that into your cast iron skillet, and it'll help lift some of that food and also some of that rust that's in the bottom of your cast iron skillet. And then once we get all the food removed and all the rust removed from the skillet, you can kind of see that your salt has turned a little bit of color because it's picked up all the grime and all the rust off of your cast iron. You can just take it, toss your salt in there, and then we want to condition our cast iron. And we can use coconut oil, regular cooking oil, shortening, any type of oil substance. I would avoid butter or olive oil just because they have relatively low smoke points. And so just rub your oil in there. Make sure you coat all sides of your cast iron with this oil. And then what you want to do is you want to put it with some heat, because that heat kind of bakes in the oil, and then we get that smooth, slick surface that we can cook food in. You can fry an egg in here and you won't have any residue of that egg left. But take that, you can cook this in your oven for about an hour, 350 degrees, and then turn that oven off and let it cool inside your oven. My grandmother used to store her cast iron in the oven, and so she would always know where it is. And so if you take a look now, it's all gone. And so now you can kind of see that everything looks really nice and black in there. And if we were to cook in this pan now, we wouldn't have that problem with things sticking. And so just for extra measure, usually before I cook in my cast iron, I give it another nice dose of oil to make sure that we don't have any sticking problems. And the other thing, the reason this one did have some of that rust in the bottom is about every month you should take maybe a paper towel and some oil and rub that oil in there to kind of condition and keep it in good shape. This is my favorite cookie pan. I put chocolate chip cookie dough in this pan, stick it in the oven in 15 minutes. I have a nice cookie, put some ice cream on it. This makes a great quick dessert, and there is nothing better than a cookie cooked in cast iron. And so we also have these are little pie slices that you can cook cornbread or anything like that in. This one's a little bit harder to clean. And so this brush has these nylon bristles on it, and so it can really get in there and get it clean. Again, you want to use hot water and really get in some of those nooks and crannies with that. And so, but this brush is something that if you're going to cook with cast iron, it will help you clean so much easier. And so the Dutch oven has a lid, and it's great if you have cast iron with lids. But one thing I want to caution people on is don't put the lid on the cast iron and store it, because you don't have any ventilation in your cast iron skillet, and it could cause you to have spots on the bottom of your cast iron. And so when you buy it, there's usually a piece of paper that comes in between the lid and the pot. You want to make sure you keep that, or you can get another paper towels or anything like that, but you want to make sure that there's some space between the cast iron and this. It's so heavy that it can lock that air in, and then we can have problems later. It'll just cause you more work in the long run. So make sure you keep your paper in between that. We want to make sure that we get the cast iron warmed up on the stove before we put it in there so we can get that nice sear. Even cornbread, I put my cast iron in the oven before I put the cornbread mix in there, just to make sure that we have that nice sear on the outside and it cooks evenly and quickly. And so just by following some of those simple tips, you can enjoy cast iron and experiment with all different kinds of proteins, with eggs, vegetables, and even desserts. And I'm sure it will add great things to your Southern kitchen.